guys in the dark.
A year or so before the term neckbeard hit the mainstream, I had found myself sitting across the dinner table from one. He seemed really normal at first. We met my freshman year in one of my first classes. It was biological anthropology. I felt anxious to try college dating. He seemed like a really pleasant way to dip my toe into the water. I really couldn't have been more wrong. I look back on it, and sometimes I still wonder how I ended up in such a cringe-worthy situation. Well, it started when he sat next to me in class. I was new to the university, and even newer to the dating scene after my high school relationship had went up in flames. I heard nothing but dating horror stories from my single friends, and I just wanted somebody nice to go out with on a couple of dates. This guy had seemed just like that. He didn't look like your typical neckbeard. He was slim, clean-shaven, and he was well-dressed. He came off as a little shy, maybe even somewhat awkward, but he clearly didn't spend all day drinking Mountain Dew and playing Minecraft in his mom's basement. On the first day of class, we exchanged numbers to trade class notes. About a week later, I asked if he wanted to go to lunch at the dinner hall. We met up for an unofficial lunch date, and he acted like a completely normal guy. He did raise a couple of small flags, but I was a little tender post-breakup. I felt I was being too critical on him. Despite only speaking in class, he seemed certain that he knew exactly who I was, despite being wrong about most of it. I bet you want to study medieval archaeology, he would say. Actually, I'm more interested in biological anthropology. Oh, I don't know a lot of girls who are interested in that, he would frown at me. It seemed pretty normal enough by itself. I couldn't help feeling a little judged every time I would open up my mouth. It felt like he already held some kind of idea of who I was supposed to be, and seemed a little passive-aggressive when of course, it didn't fit that mold. Overall, the lunch was lukewarm. Certainly no sparks were flying. But he had been acting nice, and honestly, I felt a little bit lonely. It was my first semester of college, after all. A couple of days after our lunch hangout, he had texted me to ask me on a proper date. I agreed, of course, excited to go out. I wore a cute black dress, and I even shaved. We met in front of my dorm. He was wearing a superhero t-shirt and cargo shorts. He seemed underdressed. No big deal, right? Nah, wrong. He was clearly humiliated. In fact, he spent the first 10 minutes of what unfortunately became an hour-long walk talking about it, apologizing and trying to justify his outfit. I kept assuring him that it wasn't a big deal, and that really it was me who was overdressed, but he wasn't having it until the subject finally was changed. About halfway through his story about how he had left his fedora collection at his parents' house, he scurried around to my left and said, "Oh, I need to walk on this side." My first assumption was that he had OCD. A good friend of mine did, and he had a very similar need, so that would have been much easier to understand than the reality. "I should tell you," he had told me in a very weird tone. I aligned myself with a pretty strict code of chivalry. He really wasn't joking. He continued, in the Middle Ages, the man was supposed to walk on the inner side of the walkway, since people around would throw waste out of their windows, and the lady wasn't supposed to be dirtied whatsoever. I laughed in complete disbelief. "So you're protecting me from shit?" I asked him. He winced. I personally don't think very highly of cursing. Why didn't I leave him then? Had things really gotten so weird so fast, or did I miss any of these signs? "You should know," I explained to him. "Flattery and holding doors open and stuff like that isn't going to get you anywhere with me. That's not the same thing as respect, you know." We continued on with less uncomfortable conversation. I let him walk on my left, already knowing this would be our last date, but wanting to make the most of it regardless. After taking much too long, we had finally decided on a restaurant. "Now that you know my code, you should know that I insist on ordering for you," he said, as we approached the southern food spot. "No, absolutely not," I had told him. "But I don't need you to order for me." I towed the line between playful and harsh, not comfortable being rude to this guy who had been such a friendly partner in class. "Wow, you're really a modern woman," he said, with an edge of condescension. I snipped back. "Well, this is a modern world, you know." Despite this awkwardness, he seemed particularly good at ignoring the obvious tension during dinner. We carried a pretty boring conversation. Even aside from his strange ideas, there was just no spark whatsoever. I'm sad to say that at this point, I still tried hard to give him the benefit of the doubt, but as dinner had ended, and he asked if I wanted to go somewhere for dessert, I shot him down. "Are you sure?" he had asked me. I lied, told him that I had made plans to study with a friend who expected me home very soon. On the way back to my dorm, I watched, uncomfortably and confused, as he grew suddenly tense and avoided walking past a group of raggedy-looking men at the bus stop. "What are you doing?" I had asked him, while pretending to look at the bus schedule. "Just nothing." He shot a sideways glance at the men, and we continued on. I started to feel sick to my stomach. I tell myself that he acted this way because he was a coward, and not because this group of men happened to be black. I didn't want to get to know him well enough to even find out. He escorted me to my dorm, suggested that we do it again soon. I wondered if he would even try to kiss me, but he didn't even lean in for a hug. Part of his code is chivalry, I suppose. I made my hasty escape. Then I ghosted hard. I'm not really proud of it, but it's all I knew to do back then. After I had avoided him in class one day, he had texted me. I was feeling particularly lonely after a few weeks of missing my friends at other schools and having nobody to talk to. He texted me, "You seem kind of sad today. Is everything okay with you?" "Not really," I had told him. "I'm just feeling pretty lost and lonely here. I haven't made many friends yet. These friendships are all just superficial anyways. These people are all stupid if they think that you're actually making real friends. I'm looking for something more meaningful, and I know you are too." That was it. It was finally time to be direct with him. "You don't know me at all. Don't assume that you know me when I've never even said anything like that before." He replied with a manipulative paragraph that ended with, "If you don't like me, why don't you just say so?" I could tell that it was a guilt trip. We went on one date, and this guy already tried to guilt trip me into not standing up for myself. "No, I don't like you." Yes, it was a bit rude, I'll admit, but it did the trick. After about 2 weeks trying to avoid hurting anybody's feeling, I was finally honest with myself and with him. Thankfully, I've never had to endure a conversation about fedoras ever since. So apparently, I happened to be part of a NeckBeard story last year. It was the first week of college. I didn't know it until my friend had told me. It started with our NeckBeard. Basically, it was a standard model, really greasy skin. You can smell him coming. Thinks that he knows what real social interaction looks like because of anime and all that he has seen, but can't look a girl directly in the eye. And of course, the important greasy NeckBeard. I'll just call him Gerald. Gerald was approachable, really nice, drinks daily cups of respecting women juice. He was a theater major. I just transferred to this college. Gerald was already in his third year. Gerald and I happened to have different classes in the same building. They were a 1-hour break before we had the same stagecraft class, as part of the theater major. We ate lunch, and then hang out near our next class, around the gazebo on campus. NeckBeard was already there, working on what I assume was some schoolwork. Gerald and I sat on the opposite side of that gazebo, and started talking about some random stuff. I happened to mention that I heard that there was a card game shop that was just off of campus. I asked Gerald if he knew about it. He said that he had sold some old Pokemon cards there. I said that it was too bad, because I gladly would have bought them if he still had any of them. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw the NeckBeard back straighten up. He put whatever he was working on back into his backpack. He got out his phone. But I think he was just eavesdropping more than checking something on his phone. We had continued the conversation all the way up until my roommate had came and asked if she could borrow my student ID card so that she can get into our dorm building. She happened to forget hers in the room. I said that I wouldn't have my ID card, but I would go unlock the door for her so that I can get into the building. You had to swipe a card that they gave you in a scanner so that you can get into the building. Each individual suite had its own keys to get in. Her keys happened to be in her backpack. Her wallet was in the dorm as well. The dorm was literally a 60-second walk, within a vision of the gazebo, so I told Gerald that I would be back. I left my backpack with him while I let my roommate in. I have a lot of issues, so something I can't stand is wearing jeans. I hate them with a passion. And on this particular day, I happened to be wearing a dress with no leggings or shorts on underneath. When I got up, I had moved in some way, or the wind might have blew my dress up in the back. As soon as I was out of earshot, this is what NeckBeard started saying to Gerald. "Oh man, you could bounce a quarter off of that ass." "What? So, is she your girlfriend or what?" "No, we just met this week, dude, and I have a girlfriend already." "Oh man, I see how you play that game. You date another girl, try to get this girl, and many of them like that all the time, don't you?" "What? Excuse me?" "I really don't see her like that, and I wouldn't cheat on my girlfriend, ever." "Oh, I bet you would if you could. Any man would be happy to get with such a breedable female." "What the fuck did you just say to me?" "What? I can't look at a girl like that without wanting to spread my seed." He silently got up, picked up the NeckBeard's backpack, and threw it straight out onto the gazebo as hard as he could. He sat back down and said, "If you're not gone by the time she gets back, I'm going to kick your ass myself, and I'll tell her so that she can kick your ass too, and I'll even make sure that I hold you down." He gets up to collect his backpack, which, judging by what I heard from Gerald, there might have been a laptop in it, or maybe something even more expensive. So he scuttles away before I even get back. I never spoke to the NeckBeard. He never even spoke to me. Gerald had just told me what happened over a year ago. He said that it had slipped his mind. I'm pretty sure that he just didn't want me to know about it. So now apparently I have the word breedable added to my phone's dictionary.
If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, like, and hit the bell for notifications on future videos, and become a stalker of the night. And I'll see you next time.